Hello everyone, welcome. Let me just sort this out so that you can all see what we're looking at. Hi, yes, so as you can see I've been busy today. If you are about, do say hi in the chat. I can see it. When I play the highlights package though, I am going to have to drop the chat thing off. So I will just be talking and then people can talk about it afterwards, I guess. Highlights package will be coming up later. We are going to take a look at the results first. So first of all, we have the Vondage Roaders versus the Byzantine Bashers, which was a 2-2 draw. I watched this game. It was pretty rough and tumble, although the theme for this week has been pillow fists. Very few permanent injuries, very few badly hurts, mostly just sort of bruises and scrapes, even from the kill teams. As you can see, the Vondage Roaders had the ball 31% of the time. The Byzantine Bashers had it for the rest. It was an interesting game. The Bashers scored pretty early on, and then the Vondage Roaders kind of scored an unlikely-ish touchdown early in the first half to level it at 1-1, and then with the Roaders having the ball kicked to them in the second half, they scored again pretty early, and then the Bashers ground out that 2-2 draw at the end. Lots of blocks, but as you can see, 41 blocks succeeded, and for a Chaos Kill team, 3 KOs and 1 injuries is not very many. In fact, the Roaders got 22 blocks and 2 KOs. Not a great deal of SPP, not bad, but not phenomenal. You know, 9 there plus the MVP, and then 9 there plus the MVP, so pretty even all in. Roaders, I noticed them fail a number of pretty crucial going for it. Yeah, their dice definitely on the low side on the D6s, and on the block dice they actually got above average. As for the Bashers, block dice, yeah, it's slightly on the low side there, but when you've got a lot of block, then those both downs aren't as nasty as they otherwise could be. And with the D6s, you can see that they have improved somewhat. Hey Rico, nice to see you, man. We will be talking about your game, obviously, and there is a clip of it coming up later as well. I hope you liked the intro, if anyone caught it. It may have worked, I'm not sure. And I hope you can all hear me fine. It's been a bit of a stressful week, so I apologise. There was a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to do in terms of analysis of games, looking at luck, that kind of thing, but didn't get a chance. You'll be able to catch it on the replay then. Didn't get a chance to do so, as it's been one of those weeks, really. Great. Glad the sound is perfect. I was going to put some music on, but I think I'm going to skip it now. Maybe we'll put some on in a bit. Yeah, so lots of things to come. I've got the intro package done now, so that will mean that I don't have to do that next week. So yeah, looking at the Altdorf Devils versus the Horror All-Stars. Now, the Altdorf Devils took Morg, but from what I can see, he spent quite a bit of the game lying on his back. Yeah, so this one, again, was one of those ones where it just sort of came off. The score came from a fairly lucky and then unlucky roll with the sack. You will see that a bit later as well. Foreshadowing, that's called. It seems relatively even otherwise, but again, not the hugest scoring game in terms of SPP, particularly for the All-Stars. 7, and only 2 of those came in play. The guy who got the most on the Devils also picked up the MVP. Morgenthau eating 4 SPP. That's the price of his hungover performance, I think, and then another 5 on top of that. In terms of dice rolls, again, we can look at this. It's not going to tell us a great deal because it doesn't tell you where they fell, whereas I have a program that I will be using that will do that for us. So in terms of dice, pretty even there. Maybe slightly more, pretty decent dice actually in terms of D6. And then the All-Stars, it's roughly even. I mean, I wouldn't want to call the 2s like horrendous, but injury dice, lots of fails there. And dodges, not so great. In terms of the Devils, they don't have anything particularly spicy to look at here. Lots of failed armour rolls, but you'd expect that against a team like Undead, or Necro rather. So yeah, That's that one. We have the Powerboys versus Umweltschützerinnen, who will be from now on known as the Environmentalists. I try and say it at least once a stream, I promise. That's a lot of SPP on one player, really, but it's still not a massive amount, all told. 6 in the run of play, and then slightly better for the Powerboys, which you'd expect considering all that tackle. That's 5, that's a 9 in total through the run of play. 1-1 draw, which is a great result for the Amazons against a Chorf team. Yeah, there was only 1 bonehead total, Cerulean Claw, which is pretty great. I think he rolled for it 7 times, so that 1 bonehead fail is about right in terms of just slightly better than average, I think, actually, because it would be a 1 in 6. So to fail 1 in 7 is just slightly better than you would expect, but not by very much. But yeah, great result for the Amazons here, getting that draw against the Chorfs, who perhaps on another week might have completely reamed their team. AV7 not protecting them very much from tackle and mighty blowing blockers all over their faces. But yeah, so we will be taking a quick look at a bit of a clip from there as well. Speaking of clips, I would just like to say outright, if something happens during your game, you don't necessarily need to send a clip of it to me, but there is a channel on the Discord that that is specifically for like clips and highlights. Just pop in there basically what turn it happens on, and then I can get in and have a look at it a bit better, and then I don't have to kind of eagle eye every game for the important bits, or what you consider to be the important bits, rather than just picking bits that I find funny or that are kind of, you know, I will admit that running through some of the games today, I started kind of attention wandering after getting through 4 of them, and so it was like, oh, I'll just grab that bit and move on to the next game. So Big Green, the Big Green War Machine versus Malekith's Kink. That is the Orcs versus the Dark Elves. That's a 2-2 draw, which is a good result for the Orcs in some respects. I caught a little bit of this game. There is an absolutely outrageous strip attempt by Hairy Mary the Witch Elf, which will be coming up a little bit later. Again, there's a fair old amount of SPP on this one. 10 from Orkney, who I presume was the piling on blitzer. We've also got Crybaby, who picked up 7, and then Thunder Thighs and Lashover with a couple each in the run of play. In terms of dice rolls, not a lot of 6s there, but I guess when you're playing Orcs, if you can get away with it, you can get away with it. Nothing really egregious here. 1 failed dodge, but that was the only one. 1 failed catch, but that was the only one. Really stupid, fired off twice in 11 attempts, so that's probably about right. 81% is pretty decent there. Pickups, half the pickups failed. I know that well, being an Orc coach. In terms of Malekith's Kink, again, nothing particularly horrendous here. 76% of their dodges went off. Armour rolls failed quite a bit, but you're up against an Orc team with mighty blow, so they are going to pummel you a bit. But again, pillow fists at work here, so nothing particularly nasty. I think there was 1 perm somewhere, but I didn't spot it. There was a couple of MNGs. I believe there was an MNG in this game, in fact, but that was about it in terms of injuries this week. Cheese and Cake versus the Soul Touchers, my Soul Touchers, and as I feared, I did indeed get styled all over with guttery nonsense, and they beat me 2-0. Would have been a draw, but for an absolutely outrageous gutter blitz on the ball carrier on turn 15, which you will see a little later. My Orcs here, not doing the business in terms of injuries. Got a few SPP, but pretty low scoring all told. Especially low scoring for a Skaven team. I mean, you've got 7, which you don't really expect to see on Skaven. And I got a grand total of 5, but 4 of those were on a Black Orc, which is kind of nice. In terms of dice rolls, nothing you would really expect not to see here. 1 loner roll failed. That was on a loner rat. And aha, okay, so yeah, I did miss that somewhere. Dead sidestep skink that Hugh didn't bother to appo. That was the single injury of the game, of the week. As I missed that won't be getting Donk of the Week, I think. Unfortunately, there is a Donk of the Week coming up. You will get to see that, I promise, if it works. Which is not always a guarantee, but there we go. So yeah, as you can see, nothing particularly untoward here to look at either for the Skaven. Armour rolls failing all over the place, which you would expect considering their low armour and the amount of Mighty Blow on my team. But they weathered the storm pretty well, and the ones who got injured tended to be the loners. Again, nothing particularly untoward here, 100% in a lot of places. Just the catches that were a bit naff, but it is orcs, and orcs are bad at catching, so that is a thing that happens. Little disappointed with the result, I would say, but not an unexpected one, and my opponent definitely played well there. Moving swiftly on to Necromantics versus the Tiger Lizards, as we just mentioned, there was a death in this game. It was a dead skink that I completely missed somewhere. Bit more SPP rolling in on the players here. So we got 6, 8, 13 for the Necromantics and 12 for the Tiger Lizards. So that's pretty decent. Those in the run of play. Obviously you get the extra 5 each. A dead skink won't be much of a setback for the Lizards. In terms of dice, there was some spawniness going on here as well, which we'll get to see. Stunty doing its thing, etc. Injury dice, that's pretty rough, but not all that surprising against horrible claw teams of Doom, or against bashy teams rather, like Saurai are wont to be. Bit unlucky on the regen there. You would expect to see maybe the other way around, but not that drastic considering there was only 3 rolls. 1 failed catch. 3 failed catches for the Lizards, but that's not really surprising if it was bouncing around on Saurai, because Saurai can't catch. We have some pretty nasty injury rolls there as well. 5 injury rolls versus the 4 successes, but again, if it's skinks, they're skinks, they're there to get punched. Dice wise, nothing particularly sticking out there. Slightly better than average there. In terms of block dice, slightly worse than average, but depends on how they come. If you're consistently getting 2 dies, then those skulls, unless they're coming at the same time, aren't going to be as much of an issue. And as for the Romantics, we have again slightly better than average dice, roughly even really if you want to look at it like that, and a few more POWs and a few more both downs, so pretty decent dice there too. And Le Fleur versus Fear of the Goblin Planet. Saurai getting clawed will certainly do it, Hugh, that is true. So, Le Fleur, I'll get Rico to pronounce it for me sometime, beat Fear of a Goblin Planet 2-0, which is a pretty great score, although one that Yud, if he was here, would tell you was not particularly unexpected from his end. I have actually a fairly lengthy clip of this one, which is basically the goblins falling apart on their drive. It's pretty good fun. You're going to enjoy watching it. Yudlagar probably won't. In terms of dice rolls, again, this is one of those ones where the dice rolls might look great. They look pretty great for Le Fleur here. And for Fear of a Goblin Planet, I mean, injury dice is pretty horrible, but they're goblins. So, you kind of expect it. 3 failed loner rolls and no passes. It's one of those ones where there were maybe 3 or 4 really crucial rolls that all came one after the other and just screwed the pooch for the goblins. Also, there was a bit of a crowd assist involved as well. Really good dice other than that, apparently. And yeah, in terms of powers and things, it's worth noting that blocks and things are somewhat off there because a lot of chainsaw action happened in the first half. In terms of Le Fleur, pretty average really. Didn't take very many blocks, and when they did, they made them count. And in terms of dice, yeah, they rolled better than they did worse. And 2s are not so much of an issue when you're playing elves. As you can see, 100% pass, 100% catch, 100% jump up, although only one of those was used, 100% casualties. Oh yeah, it was fine for the Gobbos up till turn 7, and then it went horrible for them. We'll be watching it later. It's quite the sight. Armor rolls, a fair amount of fails, but then you're getting hit by trolls with mighty blows. That's not really surprising. Okay, so we burned through that pretty quick. I was going to talk about things that people had picked up on their team. However, I neglected to take screenshots of the teams last week and therefore can't. So we're going to have to save that for next week, and we'll see how they're developing then. Next week we have the Bondage Raiders versus the Darkside Powboys. So that is a Dark Elf team rolling into those Chorfs who will be champing at the bit for some revenge. I fancy the Chorfs' chances of putting that one out there. I'm going to make the prediction. It depends on whether the Vrodas get the same kind of dice as they had this week, and with some of the more elaborate things. I need to figure out exactly how I'm going to do it, Cerulean, and I'm kind of making this up as I go along at the moment. And like I said, this week has been kind of a pressury one. There's been lots of stuff going on. So it's been finding the time to get things done. That's why I've kind of crammed it all in here today. So we have the Big Green War Machine versus the Altdorf Devils. It's a classic, the humans versus orcs matchup. The Devils beat their opponents this week, so we'll see if they can keep that momentum going against the orcs. If the orcs can shut them down, I could see this very easily going to a 1-1 draw. So that's going to be my prediction. I'm going to predict a 1-1 draw. I'm going to be really decisive about this. Cheese and Cake versus the Byzantine Bashers. Well, the Cheese and Cake managed to beat me this week, so I think we're going to have to wait and see on that one as well. The Bashers have a lot of tackle and claw and nasty stuff like that, so they'd certainly have all the tools to stop the Skaven in their tracks. Cheese and Cake do have their 4th gutter returning, so they will have a little bit more depth in that regard, and I think they've got a ton of inducements to take as well. So I'm going to predict a Skaven win on that one. I think Cheese and Cake will edge it. They'll probably do some cheeky little thing like they did to me this week and pinch it and beat the Byzantine Bashers, all told. A lot of that's going to depend on early turns and how much removals the Bashers can get and whether they can get in on those gutters. So we'll have to wait and see there. Here we go. We have the Dead versus the Dead, Nucromantics versus the Horror All-Stars. This could go either way, really, couldn't it? It's two really good, nasty teams going in against each other. Yeah, so I think I'm going to call that one a draw. But I think it's going to be a victory for everyone watching, really, because I think there's, I think the Necro team will win. Indeed. Yes, you are correct. Using REBBL does work. Hey, Jay. Yeah, using rebel.net does work. I will be doing that going forward. I didn't have time because I was rendering things, etc. So yeah, I think this is going to be one of those ones where whoever wins both kind of lose in a way, because I think it's going to be a painful one for both teams. So yeah, if those killer whites get donked by the wolves, then it could get messy. I think everyone else in the division is probably praying for a lot of injuries on both sides there. This is an interesting one. Le Fleur, who are the spooky Dark Elf team who knocks off Fear of a Goblin Planet, versus the Weltschurtzerinnen, the Environmentalists, Amazon team. I'm going to give the edge to the Dark Elves here. I just think they're just that bit quicker. So I think Rico's very adept at using his Dark Elves speed. So I think we're going to see a Le Fleur victory, but I don't think it'll be by much. It'll be by a touchdown. So we'll call it 2-1 for Le Fleur. Fear of a Goblin Planet versus Malekith's Kink. Yudlagar will be the first person to tell you that he hates playing Dark Elves. So I think this is probably going to be a Dark Elf victory. But it depends on what happens with that Goblin nonsense that they have going on. If the Goblin nonsense doesn't screw them like it did this time round, perhaps they can pull off the victory here. and we all know he does like his bribes, so there could be some pretty nasty fouls in the offing if those witches go down. So yeah, I'm going to give the edge here to Malekith's Kink. Tiger Lizards versus Soul Touchers. Now I'm going to state outright, I don't make predictions about my own games. Sorry, I'm just not doing it. Because one, I'll get streamer's curse, and then whatever I predict will be the complete opposite of what happens. And two, if I pick myself every time, I just look like a dickhead. And I already look like a dickhead, so I don't need to look like a double dickhead. Alright, like I said, there's a ton of stuff that I wanted to get into that I haven't been able to here. So this is a relatively quick one. Ah, you got some tackle. So the Blitzer now has tackle to hit the Zons with, which is sensible. I'm not sure what I'm doing there. So yeah, this is a much quicker one than I'd wanted it to be. I'm going to drop the chat window down now because I have to do a full display thing in order to play the highlights package, but I am going to talk about them, so we can have a quick discussion about it afterwards if you like. So bear with me while I faff around pressing buttons and probably breaking things. I have given everything funny names as well, I shall just warn you of that. So, alright, I think this should work. Excuse the weird thing that's about to happen here. Whoa! Spooky. Right, so there we go. Hopefully this all works. So as you can see, I've given everything funny names. This is the second touchdown from Hughes Lizards. This was one of those things where it's like any other kind of player that didn't have this combination of factors would probably fail this miserably, or it would be the spawniest thing in the world. You can see the ball's not in the greatest of positions here for the Lizards to score from. And fortuitous scatter here. And you can see the Lizards are kind of trying to clear the decks a little bit, but not really getting anywhere. This is the perils of lacking tackle on those wolves at this stage. Now, here we go. What can you do? What can you do? You can't even say you made a mistake there. It was just Lizards being Lizards. So, yeah, nice one there for Timothy Leary, but I think everyone wants to kill them now. Glory, glory, glory hole. This is the Vondage Rodas versus the Byzantine Bashers. Basically, this is how to even it up in 2 turns as a Dark Elf, even when it seems to have all gone wrong. So, pass is good. Then, one thing I've noticed about the Rodas is they like to dodge through tackle zones, which is probably a sign of their slightly lower mobility compared to other Elf teams. Very clever with the handoff here. You can see he's got a reroll for this, but that dodge fails, and it's kind of like, ooh, how do you protect this? So you'll also have to be excused that there was some sort of glitch with my game, so you've got to score touchdowns, Jim, is on a lot of these just for the entire time, which I suppose works. Ooh, I missed that one when I was recording it. That was just a push. So yeah, this is one of those ones where at any point, if any of this went drastically wrong, this is probably 1-0 going into the first half from the Bashers. Ball goes down. Fails the catch. Fails the catch. And it's not a great place for it to land for the Elves. Now you can kind of see that the Bashers are trying to scramble their players back. And we have a lovely, scary Chaos Warrior there. The Vondage Rodas showed no fear in throwing dice at those Chaos Warriors, though. And here we are. So this is the smart bit. There's a lot of dice being rolled here. Jump up doing its thing. Pretty nice stun there, though rather academic. Just runs around to provide that little bit of extra. Skulls it, but has the reroll in the back pocket just for that situation, although this does make the rest of it very, very spooky. GFIs into the end zone. Can't pass it if you blitzed after all. Dodges off, picks it up, and throws the pass. Quite a nice touchdown there. I was rather impressed. White in the Kisser. This is the Old Dog Devils versus the Horror All-Stars. This is one of those ones where it's a single dice roll can make all the difference. The All-Stars don't have any rerolls left. They've had a little bit of a rough one. Ball has now been popped free to down the right-hand side, as you can see. And so he's basically got one shot at this. Sends in the Killer White. Skulls it. And just for good measure, the White gets injured off the field. One of those ones where it's one of those crucial little rolls that it turns out is the one that costs you the game. And as you can see, the Devils just run the ball down the side of the pitch. I don't know why I left this bit in, to be honest. It was quite obvious that was going to happen. And it's Donk of the Week time! This is the Cowboys versus the Amazons. And that is Derek Parfit on an MNG, which will make people slightly happy because he is a dwarf. There wasn't a lot to pick from there, I'm afraid, so that's why it was a fairly generic one. No death or anything. I missed the skink death. So here we go. We have the Big Green War Machine versus Malekith Skink. This is one of the outrageous agility plays of the week. There's been a couple of them. We've already seen the skink. This would probably make me rage if it happened to me. You'd be like, why am I even bothering? So yeah, watch out for Hairy Mary, everyone. Boings in. Doesn't get the one dice, but has strip ball. Fails the catch. It bounces off. On the red dice, gets away with it, but not a good place to be stuck. Whatever, I'll just wander around. It's just outrageous. Truly outrageous. Alas, when you blitz, you can't pass it. Yeah, just a crazy little play there. Cheese, but no cake. This is turn 15. I mentioned it before. This is why you don't let gutters have even the slightest bit of space and you stamp on their heads at every possible opportunity. So as you can see, I've grabbed my way up the pitch and playing for the draw. It's turn 15. I've got to get up there. Basically demolish the Skaven team. Getting tackle on that gutter. Gets pushes, so I re-roll. And you think, that's probably it. I've probably done it. Probably fine. It's probably going to be a draw. But, oh no, here comes the gutter. So yes, here we go. Many, many dice were rolled. Straight through, like it's not even a thing. Gets the pushes, but with strip ball that removes the ball from my possession. What are tackle zones? And then, just add insult to injury, 2 GFIs. And, just for good measure, let's dodge the thrower off and secure that ball. Fails the first dodge, but he's got the re-rolls. Gets on the second time of asking. And takes another GFI. And unfortunately, that's all she wrote for me. And scores next turn. Okay, last but not least, the Gobbo fail train has no brakes. Anyone who caught this game, and Rico, I know you're watching this, you will know what happened here. So we go Dub Skulls, Loner fails, Troll goes down, Ball is in a really precarious position here. That is a turnover. This is just a Goblin team collapsing in on itself. Dub Skulls, but there is the reroll, so the reroll goes off. Frenzy's through into the 1 dice. Running off to provide a scoring threat. And we'll just blitz around into the Goblin for good measure. Doesn't get the Surf, but the Goblin goes down. To think, maybe there's a chance here. And then the Fanatic happens. Oh, the poor Yud. And the crowd are going to be incredibly helpful in a second as well. So we get the Surf. Surf goes off. And there goes the ball. About the worst place it could have ended up, really. Smacks the Troll over. He stands firm and gets stunned. And then Rico just being cheeky here. Takes the GFI. Takes another GFI. He's got 2 rerolls, it's turn 8, why not? And then, you know, just to run it in, take another 2 GFIs. Job done. So yes, that was the first ever highlight package. I hope you enjoyed it. I will now stop the strange, bizarre thing. So yeah, I'm afraid I couldn't see the chat there, because otherwise you would have seen the chat bar on the screen. But I will just scoot back. Yeah, so there's been some happenings for sure this week. I do feel like I've kind of under-delivered here. I have given you my predictions. I have given you some promises as to things that you can expect to see. If you haven't seen it, go back and take a look at the intro package. You might need to drop your volume ever so slightly. I'm not sure how loud it was. On that note, I think I'm going to call it here. I need to go and do several things that I've been putting off today while I've been cutting things together badly. I hope you all enjoyed it anyway. Yud might be back next week. If someone else would like to jump on and help co-cast this with me next week, then I would very much appreciate that and be very up for that. And I'd very much appreciate all of you watching and hitting that follow button. If you haven't followed me on Twitch yet, by all means do. I will see you sometime next Wednesday, probably slightly earlier than this. Glad you enjoyed it. So cheers. Have a good one, guys. Good night.